Hey folks, Kusumal Designs here, and this is part 1 of the Academy 1/32nd scale CF-18 Hornet build. Now, I already have a CF-18 Hornet build going on the channel in 1/48 scale from Hasegawa, but as you know, if you've been following along at least, work has been really slowed up on that one, and that's only because I don't have any aftermarket sets for those, at least, very limited, and that's probably because of the age of the model. It's, really old, and all the focus right now is on the new kinetic kits, which I don't know anything about. So until I find some, aftermarket sets for those guys, I'm just gonna have to put that on the back burner for the time being. And something's got to come available sometime. Someone's always selling something. So, and I want to do those, right. Those expensive kits. I'm not just gonna do a rush job. I never do rush jobs on anything. Like I said, most of the stuff ends up in museums and stuff. I don't do rush jobs. So until then, we're going to be working on this F-18, or in this case, CF-18. So if you want to build a correct CF-18, you are going to need that model kit right there, or at least a late 90s CF-18, and that's exactly what we're going for right here. I've had a lot of exposure to CF-18s, at least in the late 90s, and that's what we're going for right here. A 416 Squadron in Cold Lake, CF-18 Hornet, aircraft number 795 for those that are really following along here. So if you want to do a 1/32nd scale F-18 of any kind, these Academy kits are definitely not for beginners. They're, how do I put this in some ways? They're not really advanced, but they're not for the beginner either. And that's what I'm trying to get at. If you want to do a really nice job, is you really got to think ahead with these ones, because they build really nice, but yet for painting they're kind of tricky, and you're going to see that as we kind of go along here. I don't want to get too ahead of myself with this video, so we'll cover that at a different date. So we're going to start with the cockpit here. Now, because again we're doing a CF-18 Hornet, things change, right? From the American to Canadian, we do things a little bit differently. Why? Because we're Canadian. So at this scale, you might not notice too much, right? Because it's such a small scale. But let's just say, again, because we're late 90s, if you want to do your radars and you have your screens on, things like that, we do our radars and things a little bit differently. We have it on the opposite sides, so take that into consideration. Do your homework. We put our screens on different sides, so put that into consideration too. So do your homework. Now, I like using Edwards sets, as you can see. So if you want to have your displays and everything, all the rest of it, you're going to need two sets. You're going to need the D set and the C set for your Edwards right here. So you're going to need the C, which I got two of, and you're going to need the D. Now, why you need the D is because if you want the lower part right here and here, it only comes with the D. Why? I don't know. The C section, you're only going to get the display area and right there and right there where my finger is showing. Not too sure why they did that. Now, for your ejection seat, same thing. This Edwards set right here. As you can see, I didn't use all of it. I only used little bits and pieces, as you can see. Now, the Edwards set, obviously, for your ejection seat is kind of meant for your kit part. I used the Wolf Pack. Now, my Wolf Pack, as you can see, was damaged when it came, which is sad in one way, and I don't care in another way, because I don't think there was enough detail here for me to really care. I didn't like the detail, and I planned to use the Edward anyway. But I did use the seat, as you can see, right there. I'm going to take it out in a second. And Legend also makes a seat right there. Now, if you're curious about the two seats, I didn't glue this in on purpose. I'm going to hold it up, but there's definitely a size difference in seats. The Wolfpack seat is a bit beefier than the Legend seat. So you can take that into consideration as well. You can even tell by the headrest. There's definitely a size difference. I personally like the Wolfpack seat. I think it's more representative of the true Martin Baker seat. I didn't even bother opening up the kit seat because there's just not enough detail there. Now I like to use oils for painting for the most part, and that's why a lot of my projects take a long time. There was a few comments that were on my B25 build, and I usually don't like to censor comments, and I did this time, just because it was presented really rudely and snidely. I build my models for museums, and they want maximum detail, and it takes time. And I like to use oil paints, things like that, just for example, like the Optolongs, things like that. And sometimes with the amount of detail that goes on, it could take up to 2 weeks to dry before you can even touch it. And then in the end, you're going to get some realistic detail that you just can't get out of sets such as like this. Okay, so that's why my projects aren't done in a month or 2 months. It's going to take sometimes up to 9 months for a model to be done. Right? And you're talking a 1/32 scale model. I mean, these things are huge, especially like if it comes to like a bomber and things like that. So again, using oils, it's much more forgiving. And like on this ejection seat, I used oils, and we're still not quite done yet. There's still a bit more detail to go on there. Okay. So moving on, this piece here will come into play, right? I cut that open. This is a kit piece, and then it'll eventually go on here, because this here I cut out. This is just solid plastic, and then we'll just use this photo etch piece to go over top. You'll never see inside. That's why I was not too concerned about that, because that's never left open. There's always a screen over top unless this aircraft is undergoing maintenance. So there we go. So starting out with the cockpit, it's you know, a lot of work to get the switches and things and that, and a lot of the handles, as you can see right there, with the folding wings or the arresting hook for like landing on aircraft carriers. Those are basically, they come. I'm trying to look at the package here if there's any left. Anyway, you're gonna have to paint those once they're in, or you can, you know, pre-paint them, because those are actually not silver in color when you cut them out of like the package. Look here, they're not that, like when you cut them out of this package, they're like this silver. You're gonna have to paint them like sky gray or whatever, because in real life they're sky gray. Actually, here you go. There you go. So right here. So if you want to fold the wings or whatever, that's another thing too. If you really want to go for super realism, you want to fold the wings, turn that. If you want to have your arresting hook down for your, like on the back of your plane down, pull that down. Things like that. You know, if you're that, you know, realism, there he is. So right there. So if that's like that, your arresting hook is down. You know, weird things like that, if you want to go for super realism on your aircraft. Other things too, like this right here, because I have a couple of these seats. Don't see how it's, the plastic is molded in on the inside there. Don't cut that out. Right there. Leave that. Paint over it and stuff like that. Leave that in. As you can see, that, I don't know if the camera will pick it up. Probably not. Leave that in, paint over it. A lot of people think that's just, you know, excess plastic, which that may have very well been. A lot of people cut that through. Leave that in there, paint it over, leave it in. There you go. Actually, I can take the seat out. See? Leave it in. Some are yellow, some are brown. Depends on your era of seat. yeah. And then for your stick and everything, see if we can do a tour around here. As you can see, for the pedals, I actually used the photo etch. And for the screens, I actually just painted that racing car green. I actually have the displays not lit up at all, because this aircraft will be on the ground and the pilot will be walking towards the plane. And then obviously there'll be more side detail to go on, right there. But the cockpit, for the most part, is complete. So there you go. Just study, if you are building the CF-18 Hornet, just study the Canadian version. You are going to have to do some chipping away inside right here to get it just so. It's not going to show right now because, again, you know, it's a lot different. I'm not too sure why they did that red right here. That should have been green, or even, I don't know, or almost clear green, but that's okay. It is what it is. Anyhow, this video is getting a bit long. Lots to do in the cockpit. It's going to take you a couple days, but if you've got other projects on the go, it's good to have something else on the side. So let me know what you think. Please like, share, and subscribe. And we're going to keep going on this. It's going to be cool to do a CF-18 Hornet, you know, with 1/32 scale. It's not going to be an easy one. I know that. So anyway, please like, share, and subscribe, and look forward to your comments. Bye.